we then, after going live like a few seconds before on Twitch, we went live on YouTube, I think that's a really good plan.
That is indeed the plan that I have executed. That's correct.
Is it already executed?
Yeah, that's correct.
Well, good morning for a second time, Janet.
Yeah.
How's it going? Welcome to this. Oh boy, I'm making links. I'm doing things. This is the pre-show goodness you come here for. Yeah. Let's see here.
Pavara, thank you so much for gifting a channel membership to Annie. Annie, welcome into the channel membership family. We don't have alerts for that yet. We're working on that. There's a minor technical hiccup that we have to overcome first that we're working on there. Actually, Matt, we could work on that later this week. I think I figured out a way to do it.
Question, are you seeing YouTube chat in your chat right now?
I am not looking at that chat.
I want to make sure. I see a lot of Twitch love because it is the first of the month. Thank you so much, everybody over on Brad.
No, I'm not, but let me see if I can fix that.
I'm just fixing a thing over here.
I forgot to hit activate selected, but I think it's good. Membership does also give you Discord access. That's correct. Channel membership over on YouTube does give Discord access. Also, wait, what happened? I turned away, and now there's so much hype. It's a level 3 hype train. And
how is it already level 3?
Well, it's working on level 3. It is level... Deceptive marketing on the part of Twitch. It won't actually... God, I wish... You know what I wish? I wish they would let us... Like, they would give us the mechanism and then let us customize it more. Because right now we have no ability to customize it. I want to customize it with, like, different names, different emotes, all that. I want to... All the things. And the highest level of hype train should be plaid. Obviously. Right? But, like... I don't know.
Who knows? Yeah, I'm still not seeing anything on the YouTube side of things. I don't know if I have to reactivate something.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Already added. Someone on Janet, type something so we know what's going on, and then we'll move from there. We go.
There we go. Thank you, Tia.
Boom.
I appreciate you. Yeah. All right. Great. Now it's working.
Zozo, you're being loud. She will not be quiet. Is it now
not working for Brad? No,
no,
now it is working for Brad. All right, great, awesome, excellent. love it when a technology works together. Man, I'm like halfway to references this morning. I'm not awake. Chad, we're both on the East Coast, and all of a sudden the East Coast decided that instead of spring, it wanted to be like fall in Boston. Like, for no reason, like, for the entire East Coast. Thanks, climate change. We love that. But I woke up this morning, and it was like, I went to sleep with the window up because it was nice out, and I woke up this morning, and I was cold, and I was like, why is it cold? And I looked at my phone, and it was like, it's 45, and feels like 37, and I'm like, that is not a number of degrees that I want it to be in freedom units, thank you. So, yeah.
All right, yeah, I'm back. All socials posted. Good morning, pre-show, folks.
Hell hath indeed frozen over. I'm willing to bet that some people wish that the market would freeze. Hey, that's the first of many jokes about the stock market that will probably be happening today.
What are you talking about? I haven't read the news since a week and a half ago. What's going on?
Oh, you know, we continue to live in times that are most unfortunately unprecedented.
That's fair. Well, we do have a really good show today. We're going to be talking a lot about the Switch 2. We're going to break it up into a couple different sections, I think, because there's a lot to go over. I'm very glad that we waited that the Nintendo Direct was 2 days, I guess, after the last breakfast, because it's good to let this stuff sit, because I've found my opinion has sort of changed across a lot of different things. And yes, we will be talking about prices and tariffs and nonsense and stuff like that. But there's a lot to sort of unpack around that. That's sort of like, we need to get through the base of it first. And we have a bunch of other fun stories that Will has found to start us off throughout this wonderful week. Because listen, as darkest of timelines go, there is always something else going on, and we want to make sure that we're actually like talking about other things as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zoe agrees. I don't know if you can hear her due to the noise gate, but she is agreeing loudly and prolifically.
Oh,
right
these
now.
are good words. Yeah, I need to bribe Whisper into like coming in here more often, but he is largely immune to bribes, and is generally grumpy and also sassy. But I love him because he is grumpy and also sassy. So yeah.
Well, I'm feeling both fat and sassy, so I think no reference. Is your spoon too big? Never mind, Will. Zoe, come here. You understand me.
I was digging for one of those that was like vaguely PG-13, and the first reference that comes after "my spoon is too big" is not an appropriate reference for this channel. Chat. It's got old man energy, exactly. Immune to bribes, put that man in office. Unfortunately, that man is a cat. Oh, that's right. I am a banana. My spoon is too big.
It was an adventure. I can't hear anyone yet. Hi, bud. Good morning. Yeah, I gotta put my headphones on so I can hear what Will's saying. He could be saying anything right now. Literally anything.
Nope.
Well, he said nope right there. Okay, pal.
As you should
Jojo.
be, Ice.
It's a work day, so she has to put her collar back on.
All right. I am happy to report that I am a banana.
There we go. Good. See?
Yo, Matt, you know what the reference was going to be after "my spoon is too big," and I was like, that's not the right reference. Can't use that one. So that's fine. Zoe's platform is more Tritos for all. That is correct.
Yes. Oh, hi, buddy. Okay, we got the tail. We got the thing. We got your collar. We've got lights. We've got cameras. Bitchin' technology. Yeah. Okay. Is the hype train over, Will? For everyone who doesn't know, the pre-show goes until the hype train on Twitch is over.
They have
And there's a
45
lot of
seconds
generosity.
to get to level 5, but I don't think they're going to do it. So it's probably over.
We'll see. We'll see.
I'm
We'll
saying,
see. We'll see.
I'm gonna say that they're not gonna do it. So we can start wrapping up, and I'll start thanking people. And
Because I can't have my coffee until
that's
hype
correct.
train is over.
That's correct. Yeah, there are new emotes available, by the way, if you want to throw your Prime sub in or whatever, and do all of those things and stuff.
Zoe, you've been called by the people.
We'll sign the executive order that the hype is over. That's not how executive orders or hype work.
Yeah. Sadly, well, it's funny. At first, I was like, "Oh no, Zoe has too many scandals going on to be mayor of New York City." But then I was like, "It doesn't matter."
Okay.
All those treats.
We got. Oh, we got a new emote. It was very
All
nice.
right.
Thank you.
Choo.
All right. I'm gonna start thanking people. Bob, thank you so much for 57 months at 71 months at tier 2. Hippie, thank you so much for 55 months at tier 3. Midlife Crikey for 15 months. Mindless Indulgence for 36 months. That's like 3 years. Thunder for 60 months at tier 2. Kyrian for Biddies. Copper Chef for 18 months. That's like a year and a half. That's a really long time. Ramian for 24 months. That's 2 years. Why do we all have all these anniversaries? Gladius for 61 months. Book Dragon for 59 months. Hippie for gifting a sub to No Escape. Raster for 56 months. Ice Fear for 47 months. With Prime, that's almost 4 years. Thank you for remembering to hit the Prime button and give us Jeff Bezos' money. Hippie for gifting a sub to Phil. Sean for 41 months. Teamworm for 32 months. Hippie for gifting a sub to the chatbot. Thank you. Now it can use emotes again. It was kind of awkward. I didn't want to ask, but it couldn't use the emotes. Alcarid for 18 months. Sif for 50 months. THC for 57. How have you been here 57 months? I remember when THC joined, and I was like, is that actually, that's actually their username? All right, you know what?
Yeah.
Cool. A mentor for 49 months, Nova for the giant Zoe emote, Sal for 65 months at tier 2, and that's a hype train. Thank you so much.
Boom. Nailed it.
We have a great question from YouTube. There are custom emotes for channel members. Those are gated by the total number of members we have, and since by and large, most extra credits fans are members over on the history side, the credits channel only has slots for the current number of emotes. We want to put more in. We have all of the emotes from Twitch that I can port in as soon as we have enough members that YouTube will give us access to those slots.
Yeah.
So that is a thing that is very much in the works, but we need to meet thresholds first. So that's the plan.
Are there any other matters of business or state that we must handle before we jump into the show proper, or any other questions from Brad or Janet at this time that we can answer before we begin in today's Games for Breakfast?
I forgot, did the original EC channel transform into extra history? Yes.
Yes.
So we rebranded the OG channel because the split on the OG channel was that most people were there for history. And so we spun up the gaming channel. And this is, the lives are actually an experiment. We couldn't have done this because when it was all one channel, because then we would get no gaming news done because we would spend the entire time answering questions about history. We might do lives on the history channel at some point. I've thought of a bunch of use cases where we could use this to go live on the history channel, but that's not a thing that we're doing.
There's
right
no
now.
plans for that currently.
Yeah.
The one exception may be if, and spoiler alert for anything that could be coming down the pipeline, if a thing we did last year we decide to do again, that might be one of the only use cases currently for that. But yeah. Hey, you know, I hope I hope that is true. Oh
Yep.
boy.
Uh-huh.
Oh boy.
Like it. I didn't have to say anything.
We're keeping it light today until we're not.
We're keeping it as light as possible so that we can float above the conflict until we just hammer drop right through it. Just okay, cool. This is a great question. Much like all stocks, it's imaginary.
True. So I'm imagining right now, listen, if current trends are anything to go by, so you have to really go by the gameplay of Flixel Sticks, right? It unlike traditional stocks, Flixel Sticks offerings tend to be priced out around different methodologies that the player base is actually using. So right now they're in blue indigo. You got to ride out that. But here's the thing with the Flixel Stick is when one side of this is not a Flixel Stick, this is a pencil. But the thing about a Flixel Stick is if one end dips, what happens to the other end, Will?
It goes up.
It goes up.
Unless it's doing that really weird optical illusion thing where you wave the pencil really fast and it turns, see, it bends. And then who knows?
But there's still an up and down, right? So like my point is, much like the point of this pencil that is not a Flixel Stick, if one end of Flixel Stick go down, other end go up, boom, to the moon. I think I just solved finance.
Yeah,
I don't even need to look for a man in finance with 6'5" blue eyes with trust funds. We just put all of those hopes and dreams into the Flixel Sticks account. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Flixel Sticks.
I was gonna say a lot of Janet's confused right now. By the way,
you know what? I don't know what tier of reality I should explain Flixel Sticks on.
Flixel Sticks is one of the longest running stupid bit jokes that keeps coming back, and we have to explain it every time because it's inconveniently long between the times it comes back.
Flixel Sticks is a a game in our minds.
Yeah.
That is also apparently a Fortune 500 company. Anyway, we probably should start the show.
Cool. Does that mean that they can witness us?
Witness. Yeah. Yay.
All right.
Witness.
I need to go get silver spray paint while we're in the blackout. All right. A reminder, okay. We're going to go to black for a quick second, and then we're going to come back, and then we're going to do a show. Please do not panic as we go to black. That is so that we can begin a clean recording for the folks over in Nebula. So please look forward to it. You are allowed to panic if you would like as a treat.
Yay!
Good morning, Matt.
Oh, good morning, Will.
And good morning to all of you.
Welcome to Games for Breakfast, the only internet talk show we talk about this week's gaming and tech news, but that also, sadly, due to stock prices, I've had to maneuver some things around. I had to basically do the Temu version of my hat now. We're fine. We're gonna ride it out, but right now, this is where we gotta be. But you know, I hear that, you know, temporary pain for some sort of solution or something would be cool if someone had one. I don't know. I black out every time I watch the news.
This is, dear audience, right after Matt in the pre-show said we were going to keep it really light before we got really heavy, but I see that we're just sinking to the bottom of the Marianas Trench right at the beginning.
I want to be very clear. This hat is very, very flimsy and light. Like it, the materials this hat is made. No, this is I could breathe on this wrong if I like I'm surprised the brim doesn't go flying up and just break backwards. Yeah. So
I don't like the reality that we're living in right now. I'm gonna.
What are you talking about?
Okay.
Listen, we all have to make terrible
yeah, my eyeballs are apparently making the sacrifices. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Welcome to Games for Breakfast, everybody. We've got a very fun, I promise, so much fun show for you until it stops being fun and we have to talk about the cold, dark reality of the world. But before then...
Listen, yeah, we're going to be talking about the Switch 2. That's going to be sort of our main story. Also, what's going on with the prices and stuff like that. We're going to keep the politics to basically put straight into the video game space because that's where we live today.
Yeah, that's right. We're keeping it very restrained to that space.
How this affects gaming, and not only just video games. I think there's a lot to be said about the tabletop stuff. That's going to be later on in the episode. Will has actually prepared a wonderful smorgasbord of other wonderful gaming topics to talk about before we dive into all of that. But as I was saying in the pre-show, I was very happy that we had a week between last show and the Switch 2 announcement and everything because my opinions have changed and it will be really fun to sort of dive in with all of you. So please, when we hit something that you are interested in, start chatting in whatever. If you're on Twitch, if you're on YouTube, or if you're on Nebula, there is a place you can talk to us, and that is on Blue Sky. If you basically have anything in the show that you wanted to comment on or question or say you're wrong and silly or you're awesome and still silly, then that is also where you can do that there.
Yeah. Real quick, before we begin, I have a correction that I thought we could talk about ever so briefly. So last week we were talking about Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed, right? And we were talking about how there was a story that went around for a real long time that the Assassin's Creed team at Ubisoft contributed information of some kind to the restoration of Notre Dame. That part's not true. They didn't give a bunch of money, not information. Kind of interesting. We don't actually know where that came up. I found it really
Polygon has a good video.
Polygon has a really good video.
The show notes.
Yeah, and big thanks to Siegebug for passing that video along and setting us on the right path. Okay. I hope this is on the right screen when I take this thing away.
It might be. You never know.
We're going to talk about our favorite April Fool's jokes because today's April 7th, and we didn't get to talk about April Fool's Day because it was on a Tuesday.
It was so silly. The last breakfast was at the end of the month, and so it feels odd that this is the 7th today.
Correct.
And it's the first breakfast of April.
That's correct. Oh no, not that. Oh, I'm in the wrong spot in my slideshow. Matt, save me. Save me. I looked away for 1 second to pour my coffee. It reset. So I'm just going to do this. Okay.
There we go.
All right, great. We're going to talk about that other thing later, but everyone's already seen that because it's a thumbnail on YouTube. All right, first up, some fantastic April Fool's Day jokes. My two favorites were both games that you can play. That is my favorite kind of April Fool's Day joke, is things that are real. And not just like fake product announcements. The fake product announcements are funny and good, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like you shouldn't have those, but I love me a good, hey, we made a thing and here it is. It's for you. So my two favorite were Discord's The Last Meadow, which will be playing after stream today before it goes away, because it goes away today at noon Eastern.
Can you explain what that is?
No, I don't know. I just know that the community on Discord told me I needed to play it, and then I needed to know nothing about it. So I've done as much as is necessary to set up the capture, and I have no idea what it is, and that's great.
So it is a game-type experience.
Yes.
That Discord has put together for April Fool's Day, but you have no idea what that game-type experience is.
That is correct.
All right.
And the other one is... that Minecraft continues to just point at the fence, and then knock it out of the park on April Fool's Day. They have introduced a new April Fool's Day snapshot called Craft Mine, where they turn the entire Minecraft experience into a roguelike. So we're playing that tomorrow on the Rogue Review, because they combined Minecraft and roguelikes, and they made them... Okay, great, awesome. That's everything I wanted. So, yeah.
The only thing I learned about the Discord one, honestly, was what Grass says here. The bad thing about Discord is the one that looked exactly like an ad, which means I clicked ignore as fast as I could. Same. I saw it pop up, even though it did, I think, pop up on the other side of the Discord window. I instantly was like, ugh.
Yeah.
And I made it go away.
Yeah, I think a lot of people did that too. Our Minecraft snapshot's permanent. It is permanently available, yes. It will be available for as long as snapshots are available under Craft Mine, which is cool. Because people have done really weird things with the old snapshots. There was one where, if you wrote a word on a book and then threw that book into a portal, the portal would lead you to a new randomized dimension, kind of like Myst.
Sure.
Like with linking books, and you would do that, and that's still around, and people still play that because it's a wild experience. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, there was. I didn't get a chance to check out Chocolate Droppa. That wasn't on the list, but when I had heard about it, true. Which at some point I will dive in. What was I going to say? Oh, my favorites were this thing that we're seeing right here, which is which is a fake product. It's the thing that Will doesn't like.
I don't like it as much. I like it just fine. I just prefer real products.
I love this so much. This is the Stream Desk. So most streamers, as you probably know, have little things like this that control various buttons and things we need to do. This would be a whole desk of them because everyone just needs more buttons. My favorite thing is on the Elgato website, there's, I think they're real streamers that they just asked to write some fake things, but like there's the scroll of like product reviews and they're all equally as unhinged. Like there's like, oh man, now I'm really looking for the Stream Desk XL because I still need more buttons. It's like just things like that are very fun when it goes 2 or 3 levels deep.
Yep.
But my absolute true favorite was this, which can anyone tell me? Well, actually, I guess it says it on the thing. This is a pillow that you can actually buy, I think until tomorrow, from the Konami website. It's too expensive. I won't be doing it. That has this line from Silent Hill 2 in glow-in-the-dark ink on the case. So this is my favorite kind of April Fool's thing because unlike the Stream Desk, this is a product you could actually buy in a limited number were you so inclined.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really, really loved that this was a reality, a terrifying waking dream reality.
Yep. Yeah, I worry about sleeping with my head that close to anything directly related to Silent Hill. I feel like that's my fear. I feel like if I do that, no. I do not wish to have those dreams. Thank you.
I mean, or what if that's the most immersive Silent Hill experience you can have?
No, I'm good. I already have enough trouble sleeping. You can tell from the bags under my eyes perpetually.
Whoa, I made this coffee strong as hell this morning, and I feel like it's a precursor of things to come.
Okay. All right. Well then,
were there any in Brad or Janet? Were there any April Fool's game related stuff that you really dug that we sort of missed on here? We'll leave a list of a bunch of them in the show notes. I know Helldivers made their guns really big.
Yeah, there's always like some number of silly things that happen in small amounts.
Yeah, I will say here's something else. Larky, true. Same.
Yeah.
I actually had to hunt them.
Yeah, I did.
And it feels like this year, this particular time and whatever, was not a place where people were looking for a lot of levity. People were looking for maybe some assurances or you know, something a little more solid. And it feels like a lot of the April Fool's stories did get sort of undercut and didn't really have much time at all in any news cycle.
Yep.
You know?
Oh, that's right. Marvel Rivals had a Venom twerk emote.
Right.
At the same time, however, is my least favorite April Fool's Day joke. Not because anything about the Venom twerk emote is bad, but because they also broke Rivals for a non-trivial number of people with one of the updates that put the Venom twerk emote in so hard that I literally, when I tried to launch Rivals, it force rebooted my computer so hard I had to go into BIOS and restore defaults. Like, is bad right now. Thanks, NetEase. Love that. So waiting for a fix on that. Yeah.
Anyway, I actually very much like April Fool's. This year did feel a little different and harder to parse and or find things, but that's to be expected, I think.
Yep. I love this. Star Trek Online April Fool's thing where for the day you can replace all the sound effects with the devs making the sounds. Pew! Zoom! Zap!
That's fun.
That's good. I like that. Those kinds of things are great. Okay. Cool. Let's move on to some stuff that happened this week. Some of which is good, I think. Some of which is good. So, chat. In these trying times, and boy, are they trying, many people turn to their comfort games. And I know of two games that are particularly comforting to a large number of people in our audience. One of them is Stardew Valley, and the other one is Baldur's Gate 3. And in both of them, you're trying to kiss people who probably need to go to therapy. And so... one daring visionary asked and answered the question, why not both? So there's a mod for Stardew Valley called Baldur's Village that adds a village for all the people from Baldur's Gate. So you can marry Astarion in Stardew. Like, it's just, that's how it is. And it had kind of a tumultuous launch. Because Sven, the CEO of Larian, saw it and was like, yo, this is dope. Great job. And the Larian team all loved it, and it got released, and then Wizards was like, hey, you can't do that. And the Larian team was like, is that really the tack you want to take with this, buddy? And then Wizards backed down and retracted their copyright complaint, and Baldur's Village is once again up for download, and you can add it to Stardew Valley if you want to.
So this is you can get it on Nexus Mods, but it was by user BV, and the story comes to us from Kotaku as well. And basically, it's kind of, you never know, because I have yet to find a statement from Wizards about this.
Right.
They are, I think, through Hasbro's puppeteering, so overly litigious and like will slap things down so quickly. Like they definitely have outside companies looking for copyright infringement and just like being like, no, like just to sort of keep things clamped. Mm-hmm. It's great that they realized that this was a mistake for whatever reason, but the reasons of why they consider this a mistake is is not clear, right?
Yeah.
Like, is it because they're like, oh wait, no, that's cool, crap, and then they fix it because they're overly litigious on that, or is it a, we got caught, people are mad, the creators of Baldur's Gate say this is cool, we're gonna look like dummies, okay, never mind.
Right. There is a balance between. So like, we should also be clear. They totally have the legal grounds to be like, don't do this.
Oh,
right?
1000%.
Because it contains characters and likenesses that they own the copyrights for a whole bunch of reasons. Like, so we're not saying they don't have legal ground. We're just saying, like, you could, maybe don't.
There is. I'll even go a little further on the benefit of the doubt. I'm feeling generous in this very light hat. Copyright is a hard and interesting and dangerous thing to maintain. And every time you let something like this go through without comment or something or engaging with it in some way, you could essentially in various courts be weakening your copyright claim. So they have to do something. But I think even Sven over at Larian mentioned that there was basically like ways around this. Like this all comes back to a corporate beast being too big to react quickly to something small and wonderful like this, if that makes sense. I truly don't, if I was to give my hypothetical what I think happened, I don't think the people at Wizards saw this and were like, absolutely not, slap. I bet you one of the firms that they hire to take care of these things did a nice quick, like, nope, whatever. Turned out this was not only a beloved thing, but crafted with a lot of care, and no one's making any money off it. Like, there's a lot of different things, but still to help Wizards with their copyrights, etc. Like, it's this whole process has to like play this dumb game, and then all the things pick it up being like, Wizards hates this thing. And well, maybe they do, I don't know, but it seems pretty silly. Like this is, and I think people would realize that. Anyway, that's a long way of saying I'm very happy this exists. I'm very happy it's back up. I have yet to play it yet because I haven't. Stardew tends to just suck away my brain, and so I don't play it much. But I was interested in trying this out and just seeing, just seeing how well the crossover went.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, speaking of things that are in sort of a legal limbo. We're not going to talk too much about it now. We're just going to let all of you know that it's happening. So a reminder that TikTok is still very much in legal limbo. This came up again this week as the original deadline imposed by the U.S. administration on TikTok getting sold to a company or to an entity that wasn't the Chinese government got extended again. We don't know if it's ever actually going to hit the deadline or not, but it is a good reminder that TikTok might just stop working in the US in the next little bit. Whatever your feelings on TikTok are, it is a source of job for a lot of creators, and it is a place that a lot of creators have turned to, particularly in the past couple of years. So it is going to be an interesting phenomena if and when it goes away or when it gets sold. It's sort of a thing that I forget about because I don't TikTok.
Right.
And then it comes up across the news feed as like, oh yeah, that's right. They need to sell themselves to, so, okay, great. Yeah.
Yeah. What an interesting moment for, social media companies in general.
Yeah.
Again, not to get into things that A, the show isn't about, and B, I am undereducated on.
Yeah.
But this seems as though there is a social media platform, TikTok, that was basically for better or ill. Many bipartisan groups in the U.S. government thought that there was a problem. But then when it seemed like TikTok might actually help the side coming into power, it was then saved for a little bit. And now the can has been kicked again. This just feels like That's right, Zoe. It feels like just sort of a tactic to keep stringing the story along.
Yeah.
Also, I don't believe ByteDance is at all interested in selling any of it.
That's the big one. I don't. This is, and given the state of the global economy, which we'll dip ever so briefly our toe into in a little bit. Getting it sold now might be even harder, right? So like there's a bunch of problems with this. Suffice it to say, our regular reminder every time this story comes up. The reason I bring this up is not because I particularly have a dog in the race of whether or not TikTok goes away. It is to remind you that if there are creators whose work you enjoy, who you only follow on TikTok, it is a good time to find them elsewhere, because remember, the last time the deadline expired, they just sort of turned off the app entirely ahead of time, and people couldn't find creators that they wanted until they made deals to get it back online, right? So like the regardless of the quality, efficacy, legality of any of this, the inevitability is that if TikTok goes away, people will lose access to creators whose work they enjoy, and those creators will be desperately in need of finding their fans again on other platforms if they're going to keep being content creators as a primary job. So do that. Find all your favorite content creators in other places. Just do that as like a matter of habit, right?
Yeah. I popped up X Dragons thing again. I'll pop it one more time just real quick if it'll actually play or not. Maybe it won't actually allow me. There we go. When Vine went under, they did migrate to another platform, but there were growing pains. Lots of people couldn't find the other people. And this is sort of in what Will is saying. Now you have another 75 days to like, look, if there's people that you and creators that you really, really have basically made a part of your internet life at this point on TikTok, take the 10 minutes, go through your feed, see who you see every day, maybe make sure you're following them other places, because if this does go away, they will just be gone to you.
Right.
And like you can, of course, Google their name and find those things too. But the less time you're away from their content on whatever other platform that they're trying to make a living on, the easier it will be for them to stay afloat amidst this sort of nightmare of their main ship sinking.
Correct.
You know?
Exactly so. Yep.
Yeah. Also, side note, I am seeing a lot of, I love this comment, honestly, from Mikhail. The very ironic thing when D&D is the most modded game ever. Yeah, and I will say I'm seeing a lot of the D&D stuff from the previous story. We have people were bringing up like they want to become TSR again, and I was like, we have a great breakdown written by a friend of the show, Eddie Webb, animated. I think it's like 20-something minutes long, called Dungeons and Disasters, and it talks about the different. It's on this channel. You could go watch it right after this, where basically we go over all editions of Dungeons and Dragons as it's happened, and for some reason how the even number editions are very, no pun intended, draconian and locked down, and the odd number editions are like proliferated and can be modded freely and things like that, and the successes and financial gains, how that tracks along those things. So
Coffee says, with regard to TikTok, maybe you shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket. I don't think most creators aren't. The creators aren't. The problem is that TikTok...
Some do, but
some
if
do,
you're,
right?
Yeah.
But the thing to keep in mind is that TikTok's algorithm is hyper effective at delivering content to people in a way that other algorithms and formats are not. Shorts aren't as good, but they're pretty good. And Insta, from what I understand, not being a person who uses Insta at all, is kind of in the same boat, right? And it's not that anyone's putting their eggs in all in one basket. It's that creators aren't in everyone's basket, or people can't find creators' new baskets to put themselves into, right? That's the problem. It's making the baskets talk. That's
social media, I will only speak to my individual use case, but it feels like this is also true. It feels like oftentimes you only engage with a creator on one platform that you found them on. That's what I do. Not on purpose, just because I'm like, oh, well, there's the people that I follow on Instagram, and these are real funny because I get my TikToks a day and a half later. And so that's fun. And then on YouTube, it's more, to be honest, the majority of my YouTube watching now has moved over to Nebula, because all the creators I would watch on YouTube, a lot of them are on Nebula already. So I just watch over there, but that's for like longer form stuff. And then I'll use Blue Sky to engage with them if I wanted to chat or bring up something like that. Like it's interesting that at least I find whatever platform I'm on that I found that person on, I tend to stick around on that platform to engage with them. It's not because I don't want to, but it's just now if I found out that, say, Instagram, we could only be so lucky, goes away, I would then have to do the same thing that we're asking for TikTok people to do, just find people in other places.
Yep.
But yeah.
Okay, speaking of interesting things that happened this weekend. Not my best.
Oh, actually, sorry, one last thing. This is exactly sort of what I'm saying from Opsai. Sorry. When y'all canceled Janet last time, tried to follow him on Twitch, but fell off after 2 weeks. So glad you're back. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for coming back. And yeah, and that's sort of the thing too. As people who make stuff on the internet, I would like to just say, like, no one can be blamed. It's never ill will or anything like that if there's something that moves to another platform and people fall off. Like, that's expected. That's how humans engage with these things. And it's really nice that we can come back here and that you're back here even though you fell off of Twitch. That's just, I don't know. I think it's cool, and it kind of speaks to what I was saying.
Yep. Okay.
Uh-oh, what?
Yeah, you're right. It's true. Everyone wants to watch the same things forever. Thanks, Paul.
What up, buddy? That's right. Oh.
All right. Let's go on to something that's relevant, I guess, to both of us and also maybe to all of you. This thing. So I haven't seen it yet. I'm going tonight to see the Minecraft movie.
Also, Will be a guest on the podcast, on the only podcast about movies, which will be out next Saturday on Nebula, next Sunday, everywhere else, on wherever fine podcasts are not sold, because they don't make money.
We should know.
Mine doesn't. Mine doesn't make money. But I am very excited to see this. I'm also seeing this tonight. This is not going to be about the quality of the movie or whether or not people enjoyed it or not. This is more a thing I wanted to throw in, because all I've been seeing in the headlines of stories about the Minecraft movie is every major news outlet seems like their minds have been blown that the Minecraft movie had the strongest opening weekend of a film this year. Cool. It already made back Sonic 1's like full US budget, it beat it in its weekend. It ran its whole theatrical run.
Quick reminder. Minecraft has sold over, because the last time we checked it was this number, 300 million copies.
This is my point. A lot of business places, like the one we pulled from, I think here, it was CNN Business, like, says the Minecraft movie smashes box office expectations with 157 million. I think they were planning it to be 60 million. And when I saw that number, I was like, what type of block are you smoking? Like, it makes no, like, if you either are in the gaming space or have a child, it feels like you would know how large, no matter if this movie is great or not, this movie was going to make bank regardless. Early reviews seem to be pretty positive. That's great. But I just couldn't believe how many, like, actual news organizations like, oh, I can't believe this. And it feels very odd and out of touch. I don't know. Has everyone else's experiences with sort of what they've been seeing sort of similar to that? Like, the tone of headline is really what I'm getting at, and how weird it is.
Yeah, I actually haven't heard anything, but I also don't have as much, like, movie business news in my feeds as you do. but I could have told you that it didn't. It could have been terrible. It could have had no one who was a known actor at all, let alone Jason Momoa and Jack Black in the same movie. And it would have done great because it had the word Minecraft on it. Like,
but also like you take that, right? And then you make it truly a 4-quadrant film.
Yeah.
I think it's rated PG, right?
I believe it is rated PG.
So PG rated film, well-known actors that parents will like to see.
Yeah.
Well-known game franchise that children will want to see. Also a bunch of money dumped into it. Like, I feel like if those are your 4 quadrants, then you've hit every one of them.
Yeah. I'm gonna be very interested to talk about how well they dodge or lean into the uncanny valley thing that they've got going on. It's very strange. They made hyper realistic villagers. It's the one that's like,
yeah.
But yeah.
I don't know.
Yep. Yep.
Hey, Luis, hello. Welcome.
Oh.
And then also, Red Lightning says something interesting here too. To be honest, I think well, actually, movie entry to be popular. Alex Pika. Oh my God, that is very true as well. Chat was moving too fast. I don't think most news realized how big Minecraft is. It's funny because maybe it's just like the degrees of separation, because like they know how big Microsoft is, and they know that they bought Minecraft for a large sum of money. Like it's so strange how
it's like how they never understand how big Fortnite is. Also, Amp worked on it.
Hey, Amp, hell yeah!
Amphagori
congrats on the good opening weekend.
Yeah, right. Is a visual effects artist and has worked on many of the fine things that we have enjoyed over the years. So that's cool.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to seeing it. Will, I'm looking forward to you seeing it in our conversation. We're recording it midweek, and then that'll be available.
I gotta ask. I was wondering, is the reason that you all want me on because I know stuff about Minecraft?
We like to have people on the show that know about the subject matter, but that also can talk articulately about the subject matter. I have plenty of friends that know a lot about Minecraft.
That's fair. Valid.
I would say that you are my friend that could talk the most articulately about all of those things known about Minecraft.
That's fair. That's valid.
And to be honest,
Minecraft quickly gets into like and then Hero Brine territory very quickly.
And what's fun is, I know you and I talk about movies on here on occasion, but you and I have never actually gotten to do. I've been trying to find like the right one to bring you in on, and this felt.
Oh yeah,
this felt like one that you would already be making the trek over to the theater to see, and that you would be a perfect fit for.
I am indeed very excited. I'm looking forward to it. My roommates and I are going tonight after the stream.
Nice.
So, let's keep moving. Okay. All right. This now comes the time where I need to tell everybody, brace yourselves. If you just wanted like the light gaming news and like the fun April Fool's Day stuff, that's that bit. We're going to talk about tariffs in general here for a second, and then we're going to talk about the Switch 2. But we wanted to talk about tariffs in general first, because they are impacting a lot more than just the Switch 2, though that is the headline piece of news that's really grabbing people's attention. Because
and also, sorry. There's our boy.
There's our boy.
Points if you're old enough to understand this reference. Real talk. We will be talking about this situation that is a real beyond gaming issue that is happening in the United States and also therefore the world. I do think even if it is not a fun topic, A, we'll try to keep it as fun and silly as we possibly can, but B, it's something that, because in my lifetime, let me back up. In my lifetime, I have had the how do I put it? The distinct privilege of, unless I was interested in a global economic thing, my privilege allowed me to sort of coast by and ignore if I wanted to. And I think because things were so stable for a lot of people and places for so long, that kind of became a norm for a lot of folks. And now with everything sort of changing as fast as it is, it really wasn't an option before, and now you can start seeing how much it really isn't. So I guess my whole point behind that is, even if this doesn't sound like a fun topic, it's not.
But it's an important
It is
one.
worth engaging with and talking about, because the more the can gets kicked, the worse it can probably get, if that makes sense. Yeah. So with all that super fun preamble on this lovely happy morning talk show, this is Ben Stein. This is Ben Stein from
Ferris Bueller.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off, giving a speech about tariffs.
Bueller.
And
Bueller. Bueller. Yeah. Okay, so the brief recap, which I will try to keep as factual and screamless as possible. Last week on April 2nd, we had the Nintendo Direct for the for the Switch 2. And after that evening, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, signed an executive order mandating a raft of tariffs unprecedented in American history, which is currently causing the global financial panic. That's probably the most factual and succinct way I can put that. These tariffs are by country, not by good or service imported. There don't appear to be wide swaths of exceptions. The reason that this is particularly relevant to our show and to the topics that we're going to be discussing is that many of the countries in Asia which produce many of the goods which are relevant to the gaming industry, China, Vietnam, several others, but those two in particular, are being hit with north of 50% worth of tariffs, which is an existential crisis for the gaming industry in some cases. Companies are not able to absorb that. So we'll do a very brief and succinct what's a tariff, because that Google search continues to trend. A tariff in this case is a additional tax placed at the port of entry on a good from another country into, in this case, the United States. So. Yeah. Based on the value of the good, on the declared like MSRP of the good. This cost is, in every case where it matters, passed directly or almost directly onto the consumer, which leads to a cost of goods increase roughly equivalent to that of the tariff placed on the good. These are not ways to actually make money. They're ways to sculpt consumer behavior towards, in theory, domestically produced goods. The problem is, of course, that that's not how that works anymore, because those things can't be produced domestically for a whole bunch of reasons. That's sort of my short, like, what happened? What are tariffs? Did I miss anything there?
It's no. I think you're actually a really solid description. Here's something I will say. Will was sort of giving that the 101 entry into what's sort of going on. I was just looking through a couple different sites and a couple chats I'm in and a couple things where I was trying to see like what the up to the minute stock thing was right now. I don't normally follow stocks this closely, or the stock market, so I don't know exactly where to look. Mm-hmm. There are some things that are dipping up at this very moment and other things that are dipping down. It is what would be coined as incredibly volatile. There are rumors at this moment, even though the White House says the rumors are not true, that there will be a 90-day pause on these tariffs. There's like, I have no, this is the problem. The markets, from what I understand, like stability. Mm-hmm, and this sort of whiplash will cause irreparable damage. Now, going back to what Will was saying. Oh, sorry. I was the reason I bring up that is, by the time you even watch this on a VOD, this information obviously will be very different. But like, I think what I want to talk about in the generalities of this first and foremost is, tariffs will in no way, as Will sort of said, help the average consumer anywhere. It will just be an additional tax. And sometimes in small doses and things, and again, I'm not a economist, so I don't know this specifically, Tariffs have been issued across countries for a long time based on various different things, but the way that this was implemented seems incredibly ham-fisted and possibly generated by ChatGPT. The equation is very rudimentary, and I believe ChatGPT spat out, like I said, hey, if you wanted to figure out a global type of thing, how would you do this? And it spat out the equation that is essentially what the White House used. I'm not saying they used it. I'm saying whatever they used was the simplest and most ineffective and incorrect version of what could possibly be used. There is a world, before we get into this whole switch 2 of it all, like just talking about manufacturing, because the line that seems to be happening, and I'm going to tie this back to games, the line that seems to be happening is like, oh, this is being done to bring manufacturing jobs back to the United States. And it doesn't work like that. Like, look, I won't even say that is a good thing or a bad thing. But you need years of lead up to get even remotely the possibility. Yeah, that's Ice. That's a great point as well. Yeah. To get capacity up where you could sustain a tariff like this and you could actually push people to manufacture, and you can push people and tell people to manufacture in the US all you want. If there aren't facilities that can do it, then you're just killing businesses. Now, and the thing that I believe we'll be putting into the this is from PC Gamer, even though it is about board games, they have an article called "Board Game Publishers Lament the Devastating Impacts of the New Tariffs in the Industry." The headline continues: "There's no silver lining. It's just a lose-lose-lose for everyone involved." Smaller to mid-tier companies are going to be the ones that can't weather this. This is going to be oh God, I'm going to butcher history here. Oh my God, I have so much of it in my brain, but there was something, and I'm trying to remember this, back in the day in our History of Beer series, there was something about the beer barons, and was it during a financial collapse? Maybe someone in Brad or Janet can correct me when I'm wrong, but like a lot of small brewers got destroyed during specific hard times financially, and that's why the larger ones were able to stay around, because they were able to weather the storm. Oh, I'm sorry. No. It was prohibition.
Yeah.
Wow, me.
Yeah. So prohibition caused there to be a consolidation of power in those industries, and that happened.
Sorry, took my brain. It's the hat. If I was wearing my regular hat, I would have gotten that correct.
The hat is actually an external locus of Matt's memory.
Yeah.
So
it's the equivalent of my N64 RAM booster pack that I have to unplug right now. So with that in mind, like small to mid-tier tabletop people with physical, let's just talk about like physical gaming products. That's a lot of paper products. That's a lot of plastic. That's a lot of wood and laser cut wood and stuff like that. They're going to be the ones that can't handle this volatility and the short term. And that means that the board game and tabletop game boom that we've kind of experienced over the last 10 to 15 years does really feel like it is coming to an end.
Yes.
And you add on to that people will now have less disposable income to throw at those hobbies. And now, in order for those hobbies to even remotely try to turn a profit, they will have to raise their prices. It's the death of a lot of sort of small industries with two main problems. One, there's no solution to do the thing that the US government is pushing for, i.e. manufacture in the United States. Nothing is being offered there. And two, let's even say this somehow did help like the American people. Like no one that I have seen has been able to tell me, okay, great, we're bringing in all this money from tariffs. How is that money going to be spent and distributed to make the United States better?
It's going to make what better? It's not.
But this is my point. Let's say this is the whole thing, because the current administration is positing that it will make America a bunch of money. Let's pretend that that's true. It's not. Let's pretend that that's true. What are we doing with the money? Whose money is that? What's happening? We doing a big old infrastructure push? Like, what's the plan, bro? Like, that's what also gets me too. So, yeah, it's a sad time, especially for hobbies and things that I absolutely love. So here's what I'll say before we move on to the Switch 2, because there are, oh, sorry.
I wanted to give a concrete example, by the way, so
Yeah.
of a thing that you were talking about, because I think this is really salient. Okay, so when we're talking about tariff increases, right? One of the problems is that if you increase the price at the point of sale to compensate for the tariffs, because tariffs don't take that into account, it's actually more complicated than just multiply the base price of the product by the tariff percentage. You have to take into account that the tariff also has to pay for the tariff on itself, right? So it's slightly higher actually than the tariff rate. But as an example of a kind of thing that's not going to be happening, I looked it up. Frosthaven, the sequel to Gloomhaven, award-winning, much beloved big box game that legacy game, many people enjoy it.
That game kept me sane during the pandemic with my little pod.
Yeah, Frosthaven.
Well, the original, yeah.
Yeah, Frosthaven is about $190 right now, give or take, which is already expensive. And if I assume it's manufactured in China, because most board games are manufactured in China, and if I'm wrong, that's okay. We're going to use this as an example. Let's pretend for the moment that it is. China's getting it's about 1.64. It's about, for the cost conversion, if consumers ate 100% of it. Would you pay $310 for Frosthaven?
No.
Can you afford
$310
to pay for Frosthaven?
With the amount of money with groceries going up, everything, like that's the...
my grocery bill is a little higher because I have celiac, and I have to shop around very carefully, and there are some whole places I can't eat, and I don't have access to a lot of cheap food staples because of that, okay? And that's more than a month of groceries for me. That is...
Yeah.
Right? I could eat for a month, or I could buy Frosthaven.
Yeah. Diabetes brings it up. It was a long one. Basically, hobbies are one thing, but there's a lot more at stake here. There's enough things we produce high examples of. Coffee, for example, is going to be much higher. Manufacturing one thing, but then goods and services is another. And then we also have to look at... Sorry. I've been waiting all week to kind of rant about this, so thank you for sticking with. Let's say that there are places to manufacture. All of a sudden, these facilities are here, and now Apple can make iPhones in the United States. All of the materials and things that we need for tech things are also kind of not from here. So we have to import them anyway. So that will be tariffed.
Right. Correct.
Anyway,
so in general, there is no upside to these tariffs for the gaming industry in the U.S. Not for the electronic side, definitely not for the board game side, not for the TTRPG side, right? Especially because most printers get stuff printed elsewhere, right?
Yeah.
Most books, right? So a lot of indie TTRPGs are going to be experiencing problems, right? It's not... There's no good upside on this for the gaming industry, I would say. I think this is just bad across the board.
Ooh, interesting. Kool-Aid, the tariff income will help make up the potential trillions lost in income tax due to the Doge cuts, according to the IRS. So are they then saying that because they fired a lot of people to collect taxes, this is how they're going to try to make up for all the money the government didn't get?
Okay. I'm gonna
Bueller!
Real quick. For a while, we were doing a show called Extra Politics every week that I hosted with a bunch of friendos of mine. We're taking some time off because the mental strain of doing that during this particular administration is higher than we were willing to upfront, especially with two of my co-hosts working in the board game industry and needing to deal with this, and one of them working in politics, and me doing all of this. But I would love to pick their brains on this, because that thing that you just said, Kool-Aid, I believe is an accurate representation of a statement that was made. And it's wrong. That's not how this works. Tariffs don't make up income, right? Because the net purchasing power of the consumer goes down, right? So
Right.
if things cost more, you will buy fewer things.
And therefore less money will come in, and you're hoping to even it out, not make more money, but you still probably won't do that anyway.
I have been so tempted so many times to just scream the most horrendous, profane things about this, because it's so much of it is wrong. That's not the way the economy works. That's not the way tariffs work. That's not the way consumer purchasing works. None of this works that way. And this
is something, and I'll sort of say this last thing, and we'll move on to the Switch 2 of it all, because I want to swing into something happy for a moment before we could bring it down again. I am an animated, loud cartoon man on the internet. I try to be as educated about things as I possibly can, but helping to run the studio and making all the shows and doing all of these things, and just my general level of education. I don't have a doctorate in anything. I have a BA in communications. I tend to stay out of conversations when it comes to economic policy, because I feel I don't know enough to actively bring anything of value to the conversation. That has been a general feeling that I've had, because I don't want to cloud people that know what they're talking about with any misinformation that I might not understand. But we're here now, and when I, an undereducated person in this space, can look at this and very clearly see that what is being done makes no financial sense, that is when I throw my very cheap hat into the ring to basically scream from the rooftops, what the hell is happening here? Because if I can understand that this doesn't work, how can people in control of it not understand that these things don't work like that?
It's a really great question, Matt.
Anyway. Hearts do go out to everyone in the board game industry, and God, every industry. Because and truly, if there is a team or a group that you really love their work and you can still afford to get in on that last Kickstarter or do something like that, now would be a really good time to show that support.
God, I needed that. Thanks, Sam.
Oh my God. I'll be chief of the cabinet of the interior of What Up, Fam? Yeah, no, I could. Right. Oh man.
All right. Okay.
Celebrating mediocrity.
Hold on. All right. We're actually I'm gonna push them forward 3 minutes. We've got ads coming up, so we're gonna schedule the ad break now. So Janet, we're going to do fake ads for things you can't buy, while Twitch gets real ads for things that they can buy, so we can keep pre-rolls off over on Twitch. So we're going to do that real quick. We're going to take about 3 minutes to do that, and then we'll start talking about the Switch 2. Okay, cool, great, awesome. Brad, go enjoy your ads. That Bob post is lying. Ads will start now.
Also, Janet and subscribers of Brad, we're alone now. We can sell you any fake thing we want. Right. Will, would you like to sell a fake thing?
I'm struggling to come up with something that isn't just like a double.
Why don't I do something then?
Yeah,
Why don't I do something?
Because right now I want to sell people eggs.
I mean, they are delicious, but I'm going to sell them something a little bit different. Hey friends, Matt from Extra Credits here. You love buying stuff, right? Well, have you tried not? That's right. Well, it's going to be, I have to tell you, so much more easy to now not buy things than it has ever been before. Did you enjoy having disposable income, or even a little bit of it outside of your normal needs for sustainability in your life? Well, boy, oh boy, if things are going the way you're going right now, then you're going to hit not buying things as hard as I'm about to. Because when you don't buy things, you basically... Ooh, am I just doing an advertisement for like certain religions? I just got lost in like the esoteric thought of like,
Matt, how many Scoville am I allowed to go? How many Scoville can I go?
Do number 7. Never go full the bomb.
Okay.
The bomb, we're talking about hot ones. Scoville is the heat rating on the hot sauces.
Yep.
The bomb is an interesting hot sauce because it's always at number 8, and I've done the hot ones challenge before, and basically it burns out your tongue so much that you don't really experience 9 and 10. And I think that's for a hot sauce, for your ability to taste and whatever. I think that's almost like a kindness. But for this, Will, I feel like we should go with a 7 out of 10 on that rating so that the message doesn't get lost. Does that make sense?
That seems correct to me. I
Okay.
have one. All right.
Here we go.
Hey kids. Will from Extra Credits here. Here to sell you the concept of collaborative action. That's right. If you want to do things with your friends, maybe do them without spending a whole bunch of money on newfangled products. Do things like play board games that you purchase from an independent developer. Do things together, right? Just things together. Maybe take trips with a bunch of your friends. Maybe, art projects, make creative signs with a bunch of your friends that express the way that you're feeling in a way that's healthy and communal, like 2% of Americans did. I don't know. If you're feeling some kind of way, maybe talk with your friends about it.
That is very true, Will. That is a better thing to sell to people than the concept of buying nothing, is the concept of doing something. Hey, friends. Matt from Extra Credits here. Piggybacking on what Will said, did you know that the hands-off protests across the country were a insane success? And if I could sell you a moment of your time, going and supporting those type of things over the course of the next couple months are going to be crucial in trying to claw back any of the things that we've actually enjoyed over the majority of our lifetimes. Collective action is a thing that you can do, and there's many places that you can go to find out more and join up with groups that believe in the things that you do and peacefully let people know exactly what you feel about their dumb nonsense that they're trying to do to the United States government. A lot of people marched all over the country 2 days ago, and you can too. There we go. Did we do it? Did we fix it?
But believe it or not, Matt, that was still one level down from the level I was originally aiming at before
Sure,
I
we
asked
can't
the
go
scope.
to bomb,
Right,
Will.
yeah, no.
We can't go to bomb.
I've got
My
to pull the
hat-
bomb. But
this hat would melt.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. Apparently people are now getting ads for silver supplements.
What?
Right.
Supplement for what?
It's silver that you eat, Matt.
What? Why? 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 Why?
You ingest the powerful minerals to obtain their power, Matt. You can obtain the power of wealth by eating minerals, obviously.
Why?
They also make you blue. If you consume too much colloidal silver, you turn blue.
Oh, we got a great short coming out about that green dye in Victorian times. I think it might have been dropped this week.
Yep.
On the extra history side of things. Anyway.
Okay, great. Take a deep breath, everybody. So we're going to take a detour away from tariffs. We're going to talk about, we're going to do this chronologically. Okay. We're going to talk about the Switch 2 as it released, and then we're going to go from there. Okay. Well, kind of. So we're.
Did we? Oh, is that the wrong one?
No, that's the right one. You said that was the main image for the Switch story, and we'll move off of it when we're into the sub stories. But you made this, so now you have to deal with it. All right, great, awesome. All right. So last Tuesday, we finally got our first peek at all of the information about the Switch 2. There's a whole bunch of it. It's the next generation of the Switch. It is in fact named the Switch 2. Those things were not actually
in question.
Well, we weren't 100%. We were reasonably confident on all of them, and then we became more confident before the press release.
The world is too cruel to have it be called the Super Nintendo Switch.
Right, yeah. And Jeff actually had some really good thoughts on that, which is that because the Switch 2 is backwards compatible and the Super Nintendo wasn't, they didn't want to link the idea of the Super Nintendo to the Nintendo Entertainment System. with the Switch to the Switch 2. And if you want a more in-depth breakdown of how they announced this information, Jeff and I actually did a look through of the Direct last week on Design Club. The VOD's on YouTube. You can go check it out. Excuse me. Okay, so the first thing is the console itself. It's more powerful. It's significantly more powerful, actually. It will do 120 frames per second at 1080p for some games when it's docked.
No, it'll do 4K 60 too as well.
It'll do 4K 60, or it'll do 120 1080.
And again, games will vary here. I always find it interesting when like the spec of a system, like the PlayStation 5 can technically send out 8K, not that you're gonna do it, but like it's the same thing as like television manufacturers and screens. Like they put the absolute top tier thing that could possibly be done but would never be done. This is not a dig. This is more of a marketing dig than a hardware dig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. It's the same thickness. They're very big on that it's the same thickness, but it's bigger dimensionally.
It's heavier.
The battery life is worse, ever so slightly, but for the most part, I don't think that's going to be a huge deal.
LED screen, but apparently it's a newer version of an LED, and therefore like people put it next to the OLED and it looks just as bright, if not brighter than the OLED, which is interesting because I know a lot of people like myself who, to be perfectly honest, have fallen behind on screen technology
and
innovations. I was like, oh man, it's really disappointing that it's not an OLED. And then I was like, wait, that could also just be a real buzzword depending on what's going on.
The screen also supports HDR, which is cool. And that's someone in chat mentioned correctly that Larky made it.
I said LED. It is LCD.
Right.
See? The hat, Will. I blame every mistake I make on this hat.
That's right. It's NVIDIA has confirmed that it has ray tracing and tensor cores in it as well. We knew that it was being powered by NVIDIA because that's all Nintendo told us. We don't know exact speed or RAM or any of that. We do know storage is bigger. It's got about 4 times the storage of the original Switch, but that makes sense because games are getting bigger. So that's interesting. It also supports a new form factor for SD cards, micro SD Express. So your old SD card won't work, which is stupid. I think that's like most of my thoughts in general on the console itself, on the hardware.
The Joy-Cons seem like a lot of good innovation there as well. Obviously, the mouse controls are neat, though people are saying it does lend to hand cramps based on the shape of what the mouse is, but
this
also
is not a.
Yeah, the fact that I'm really curious about the magnets, because something on my OLED Switch, the slide down Joy-Cons always feel like they're shift up a little bit, like when you pick it up. And the fact that this is like coming in from the side and locked in with magnets, I'm very excited to have that feel.
Yep.
In handheld mode, it does it does lower processing power. Also, yeah, lurker magnets. How do they work? I'm very excited about that. I also really like, okay, this might be a Matt thing. I love Nintendo busted out hardware innovations that everyone has used for a long time, but doing this isn't even a dig. I'm actually a fan of this. Doing the cheaper and lower res version of the thing that we've all been doing for 5 years. And by that, I mean, they have the microphone on the Switch that you can, apparently with all the noise canceling, can hear you from across the room. It's like putting people's faces in games based on a camera. Side note, can we go to the camera shot or is that 2 away? Yeah, okay. So let's talk about this for a second. So a hardware thing, there's actually 2 USB-C ports on it, which is great. Means you can charge it from the top and the bottom, do all the things. This is the Nintendo Switch 2 camera. I want to say something right out the gate. The Switch 2 looks like a beautiful, elegant machine that I feel like I would love to have in my living room and hold in my hand, okay? Why is this like nothing looks good when you have the plug bent up, like plugged into the top, like you're telling me that you couldn't have added a continuation port on the dock or something for when the like, not to say you couldn't do this if you were in regular standy mode, but the fact that this is like, yeah, you just bend the cord and then it just sticks up. And like so much care feels like it's been given to the shape and the ergonomics, and we didn't make it any thicker. And like, then you get this image for literally a 2000s webcam sticking out. Like, it's so crazy. And it shows you, I think, how much Nintendo doesn't care about this particular element of it, because everything else feels so planned and pristine.
There are ways, by the way, that you can make a USB-C cable that like plugs in and then goes 90 degrees, right? So it could like have the plug and then like the plug's down here and then it just bends at 90 degrees. And
why wouldn't you, if you're
like,
making the proprietary camera, why wouldn't you do that? But okay, I'm gonna back up. I'm gonna back up a little bit of the sauce here. I also have heard that other webcams will just work with it.
Correct.
You don't need the Nintendo webcam.
Yes.
Good, Nintendo. Thank you.
USB-C webcam.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that covers most of the hardware stuff. We get into games now, Will? Is that what we want to start talking about?
I was also just going to bring up, was there anything about the OS, like, at the same time? The virtual game cards make a lot more sense now. And we'll talk a little bit, because we talked about that last week some. We've got a couple of comments from YouTube comments that we wanted to talk to about that. But overall, I think the operating system it does the same thing. It does the same. It does the same thing, only faster. Only faster.
If we can make the store run faster than a snail's pace, that would be lovely.
Okay, cool. So now let's talk about launch titles real quick.
I don't know if we have a specific picture for that. We could just stay on this if we need to.
Oh, we can. Oh, not me resetting
all
everything
the launch titles
by looking at them.
It's good.
Great. Awesome. Love that. Okay. We'll talk about this. So there are a gajillion launch titles.
I want to give credit to Kotaku for this image. This was so good, and the shadow on the box is perfect, and I love it so much.
There are a bunch of games coming out at launch.
Though only, if I'm correct, really like 2 or 3 original games.
Correct.
Which, for a Nintendo console, to be perfectly honest, is pretty par for the course at this point.
Well, and that's if you don't include the GameCube Classics launch.
I don't. They're not there. That's great that they're coming out. I love that those games are going to exist. Wind Waker, F-Zero, GX, and Soul Calibur 2. 3 phenomenal GameCube games, but you also have to pay for the online service with Expansion Pass. And again, my hat doesn't have the port for that.
Right.
It's just, I'm not going to do that.
Yep. I'm very much looking forward to Mario Kart World in theory. In practice, I'll probably play it for 10 minutes and then never again.
Oh God, no, we're gonna go hard, Will. We gotta.
I'll play with you.
Get you up.
I've been talking about this. We talked about this a bunch last Thursday. I am slowly coming to the realization that I'm probably only gonna play the Switch 2 when I play with people or play on stream. It's not my preferred method of gaming. I'll have
1,000%. I mean, you are. I would say a proud mainline PC gamer.
Correct.
And you get consoles for exclusives. To be perfectly honest, you're not by design on the go enough where like a Steam Deck or a Switch or Switch 2 makes the most sense for your console.
Correct.
Usage. Yeah.
So the other big one is the new Donkey Kong game,
which isn't out on launch.
Which won't be out on launch, but does look very good. And then
here's a game that is out on launch. The Welcome Tour, which actually Larky just says 3 hours ago they confirmed would be $10. Cool boy. Okay, so I am not the first to say this, but the little tour that they give that basically like talks about the system, like what makes the system special in like a gamified way. is a real opportunity for a home run. And it's funny that Sony showed us how this was done with the PS5 and Astrobot's Playroom, or whatever it was called, before the full game, because that was a full-fledged platformer that wasn't terribly deep, but made with incredible love, that showed all of the different things that the console could do in fun and innovative ways. And it came with the system for free. The fact that Nintendo is selling this thing for even $10 is, in my opinion, out of all of the things we'll talk about, the most insulting thing about this launch. Beyond price, beyond everything. Because this comes down to principle. And I get that they're trying to make up costs for other things that we may have mentioned before, but this is a piece of software that's supposed to sell people on your system and make them feel good about their purchase, and you're selling it to them. This should be either pre-installed or free download day one, and I will actually be shocked if by the time it drops, it is not.
Yeah. I agree.
I cannot believe they're trying to sell that. It could be the most fun thing. That's not the point of the software.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all about also selling smaller mini games from Nintendo, maybe for $10. That seems like a really good thing in the price hike world we're living in, but not the one that is marketed purely to sell your system's like capacities and qualities, right? Oh yeah, Nintendo Crimson says this too. Did it for Wii Sports. Wii Sports, arguably one of the most successful things that sold the Switch to millions, or not the Switch, the Wii to millions of people.
Yep.
Anyway, what this image is referring to, however, is sort of, even though the Switch and the Switch 2 now is the reason I was excited for it was physical media still, having cartridges. They're doing, they've done their virtual cartridge, or what was it? I'm having trouble keeping track of the naming conventions.
So there are physical cards.
Yep.
Virtual cartridges, which is how they're going to be handling digital games. And then there's this other third thing, which is called a game key cartridge. Yeah. Yeah. So
yeah, same.
Right. So a game key cartridge is their new innovation. It's a cartridge, same size as any other cartridge. Comes in a box that you buy at a store. And it's just an authorization to download the game.
It's essentially a version of physical DRM in a way.
Correct.
And that seems okay. Let's talk about a minor positive before all the negatives about that. In a world where sadly everything is going digital, in my opinion, there are benefits to digital, of course. I do think preservation and having a physical thing is really important in the day and age, especially with a company with a track record like Nintendo's of just shutting down services. There is a cool thing here, though I don't know how the market will sustain this, for resales. Yeah. So in theory, you can buy this card with, say, Elden Ring on it that is the DRM equivalent of allowing you to download it. And then you can download it, and then when you're done with it, you can sell that card to someone else who can then download it. With a digital game, full digital, like with the virtual cards that you download from the Nintendo store, you can't do that.
Right.
So this is a small olive branch to that ability to resell a software's license. However, it is not the same as a physical game because, as stated, it's not on the card. So therefore, if the system ever goes down, and let's be very clear, in 10 to 15 years minimum, or I don't know, maximum, something, I don't know, like the Switch 2 store will go away. Like that's just time marching on. I'm gonna take the counterpoint, not necessarily because I fully believe this, but because there is a counterpoint to that line of thinking. Which is, sure, no, please. We passed that thermocline a really long time ago when games started shipping with mandatory day one updates. We're already at the point where games simply don't function without patches
on day one, right? When we stopped shipping games with gold masters that were designed to work out of the box without any major game-breaking bugs, without a day one patch, we sort of passed that point, because even physical copies of games, which I agree is a good thing,
right,
require those day one updates, right? And that's been true for generations of consoles now, and every PC game ever since they came out on Steam, but like that's a whole different thing. But I do think that this is not really that substantially different because of the presence of day one updates.
So I think you are 100% correct. I will yes and off of that. I think also in the world of games that either are multiplayer or have multiplayer elements that need to have servers up to play anyway, buying a physical copy of that game doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't, because there's another key latch point of that experience that could go away anyway. But the things that got me are there's two different things here. So Elden Ring is coming later this year onto the Switch 2.
Mm-hmm.
And Cyberpunk is, I think, launching.
That sounds right to me.
Cyberpunk, at least at this point, correct me when I am wrong, has gone on record saying that the whole game is on the cartridge. It is going to be a 64 gigabyte cartridge.
Impressive.
And the whole game, including Phantom Liberty, will be on the cartridge. You're right about patches and things like that. But chances are, Cyberpunk as a game will still function on that. Like if it's broken, that's a whole nother thing, and give me my money back, right?
Yes.
Like that's fine. But there's an interesting, that specific thing is a real interesting itch for me to scratch from a philosophical perspective.
I agree. Like if companies do that, we should reward them, right? That is a cool, good thing to do.
I am going to scrimp up a bit, and even though I do own Cyberpunk on PC, and I don't even know if I'll actively play it on the Switch too, I will want to own one of those cartridges. And again, it is not, if that proves to be true, whereas I will not, even if I wanted to, and probably would play Elden Ring more on the go, be picking up the license key version, because as a secondary system to play a game on for my use case, it also loses part of the speciality of why I would even remotely engage with it on that system. Like, I don't know. I hope that is true, and I would like to, whenever I financially can, reward larger companies for putting their whole game on a cartridge.
Yeah.
But again, that's a personal thing, and there's a million reasons why digital is great too.
Yeah, I think your line of thinking makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
I am just already so far past the point of like, if I lose access to my digital game collection, it means that there is a bigger problem than me losing access to my digital game collection.
1000%.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's sort of my personal philosophy on it, and why it probably doesn't bother me quite as much.
And I also don't have a problem. This is a weird thing, and this is all how things are sold to us and how we've engaged with them throughout our course of our lives while we game. I have no problem with the fact that I don't buy CD-ROMs anymore to install games with.
Yeah. Oh god, CDs were awful.
Well, because like Steam has taken, like, it's funny. And actually, you know why I think it is? Even though, Will, again, I want to say you are correct. Day one patches and all that jazz tend to have to happen, right? But there is a mentality, even if it is incorrect, where a PC game, when you bought it, no matter what it came on, you had to install it.
That is
and
true.
Then it was installed, and that is on your computer now. Whereas consoles, with me coming up, because I am 1,000 years old, you put the thing in the thing and it plays. Even though there are day one updates and whatever, and I've been old man yelling at Cloud about when you pop in a game into the PlayStation 5 and it's like updating, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, there's something about a console that's supposed to, at least in my institutional memory, feel like you just play the game you put into it, even if that's not true. That is an experience that I am wanting to buy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think lots of people are going to be divided. I think some people will care, and I think a lot of people won't. A reminder that while you all, right, Brad, Janet, Rocky, there is probably a larger percentage of you that care about this than the general public.
Yeah.
The general public probably won't care. The general public will probably go, oh, sweet, I can play Elden Ring on my Switch. Great, I'm going to play it again with a different build. Let's go. Right? So I think that the angle that we're taking with this of it being a largely philosophical one is probably the best angle for us, because I think this is not a thing that they're going to back down from.
Oh, no.
Right?
No. Here's, so truly, they're not dropping this price. And we'll talk about the price in a second.
Yeah.
And they're not changing this plan. This is the plan. The thing that I will go back and I will try to hang my very cheap hat on is I think that they will inevitably start giving away, if not before launch, quickly after launch, that tech demo thing.
I agree.
Or they might, you know what's funny, and I don't know if they just announced the price of $10 a couple days ago. This feels like any other company would just be like, oh yeah, who cares? Yep, this is bad press. Yeah, this is free now. But Nintendo is Nintendo. Yep. So who knows? But should we get into cost now?
Well, I wanted to do one more real quick.
Oh, yeah.
One of the big things about Nintendo Switch 2 that everyone has been very interested in and happy about is that it's largely backwards compatible. They are currently working on a list. There are some games that will never be compatible, and those are generally ones that rely on Switch 1 hardware. Unfortunately, Wii Fit is on that list, or Ring Fit is on that list because of the IR sensor, which was removed from the Wiimote because not Wiimote. God, Joy-Con. I'm on the Wii right now. On the Joy-Con because it was underutilized and was an additional part that was costing the money that they didn't need to put in. There are other titles that we're currently working on. There is a complete list on the media on the Nintendo website. We'll have those links in the description or the show notes. So that you can check it out for yourself. But I do want to give Nintendo an attaboy for putting forward backwards compatibility as a thing that you can do, right? Because this does feel like it's an upgrade rather than a replacement, right? For the vast majority of games. And I do like that. And I do want to call that out as a good thing, right? When we start upgrading instead of replacing games. So,
also, side note, I want to bring up something that Neo just said. I like this comment a lot. I listen to many Matt rants about physical media, but I have a hard time caring. I know it's just the me thing, but I tend not to rewatch or replay most shows, games, etc. I think there's a lot of people like you, and there's zero wrong with that. We all engage with media in different ways, and it's funny because there's thousands of movies, maybe not thousands, but maybe thousands. I have no idea. I've seen a lot of films that I have enjoyed watching. And I never want to watch again, right? There are many games I have played that I have played and never want to play again. But then there's some that it comes down to, I think, for me personally, the ability for me to continually engage with a piece of art that I have purchased.
Yeah.
That I specifically know that I will want to engage with again. And I understand that use case is different for everybody. I think it's the loss of that option that gets me ranty. But I 1,000%, Neo, agree that there are probably more people like you than there are me that enjoy the thing. They're happy to pay for the thing. Let's move on to another thing. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk price. So,
the treehouse went well.
Okay. A reminder. This is being filmed at noon-ish Eastern Time, April 7th. This is relevant because all of this information may be wrong in the future. We're going off the latest information because, I'm actually going to skip the last one and then come back because I think that makes sense. Nintendo originally announced that pre-orders would open April 9th. That's Wednesday. And then said, just kidding, we have to evaluate those tariffs that are coming in on all of our products into the U.S. The U.S. will not be able to pre-order on April 9th.
there's two things real quick about this with the Switch 2. One is the initial price everyone lost their mind about for many different good and bad reasons about both the console's price and the game's prices themselves. And then there's the tariff stuff and removing the pre-order day from the United States. If we're jumping onto that second thing first, I think kudos to Nintendo for calling out the tariffs as why this is happening. Don't beat around the bush. If companies have to make hard decisions because the U.S. government is making it difficult to conduct business, call out that the U.S. government is making it difficult to conduct business. And it's interesting because with something like the Switch 2, this is so weird how our society values news and information, but the Switch 2 hits a lot of those quadrants that you need to hit to have it bust out and be the story. Nintendo is a huge name. Everyone knows what the Switch is beyond. I would argue that the Switch and the Wii in this sort of generational time are the things that Nintendo is just it's ubiquitous. So when the new Switch comes out, that's a big story. Oh, they just announced it. Oh, wait, now you can't pre-order it in the United States. Why? Tariffs and volatility. That amount of news, I've seen more news, and maybe this is just my circles. Everyone in Brad, Janet, Rocky, please let us know. I've seen more news about people being mad at Trump for the Switch 2 than all of the other far more damaging things on major news cycles. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that this is the story that's breaking through because it's playing to something that look, I love video games. Video games are an art form that I hope I never have to live without. If push came to shove and I had to, as we all could, we could live without video games. There's a lot of things that are happening right now that are affecting things that people need to live. And it feels like those aren't even getting the same amount of breath in the news cycle as the Switch 2 being interrupted. And I find that interesting and kind of scary.
Yep.
So yeah,
all that to say, the prices that we're talking about right now are the pre-announcement prices in the U.S. only. We're not going to talk about the global prices for the most part because that would take too long, and we're a U.S.-focused show, so we're going to focus on the U.S. prices. Okay, cool, great, awesome. The console itself is going for $450. It is available in a bundle with Mario Kart World as a digital download. There's not a cartridge in that box. It's a digital download code, to the best of my knowledge, for $500. And those seem to be... People seem generally to be fine with that.
I think they priced that the way that it is, and all of the prices truly to make up for impending doom of tariff type things. And here's the other thing about. Oh, you disagree?
I disagree. I think that they may have priced in some amount of tariff into it because it was known.
Oh, not the amount, not the
correct.
amount.
Right. So there's no way anyone could have predicted these absolutely. We're trying the fourth time to do this without swearing.
Level 7.
Whoa, these unprecedented, ill-advised, economically unsound, grok-ridden, AI hallucination-looking excuses for an economic policy, because no one dreamed that anyone could be this stupid and still be able to walk, talk, and sign a piece of paper. And yet somehow I am proven wrong. Those prices are reasonable, I think, as long as they stay roughly around there. I can see it going up 50 and people still being like, okay, that's the tariff tax. All right. The problem is that doesn't even begin to close to cover the tariff, right? Because reminder, coming out of China, and I think these are actually coming out of Vietnam, which is where the Switch 2 is theoretically being made. I'm not exactly sure. The number that I've seen bandied about is north of $600 for the console after tariffs are taken into account.
Yeah.
That'll be a deal breaker. right? That'll be a deal breaker. People won't buy that. So Nintendo's going to have to take some amount of. It'll be very interesting to see what they land on for that adjusted price.
Yeah, who knows on that sort of front. Jumping back a little bit to sort of the price of the individual games.
Yeah, I was going to do that next. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is a complicated topic. At the end of the day, so what is it now? And I'm trying to remember because the news about this was so flaked around before the tariff stuff even hit.
Yes.
It was going to be $80 for a new Nintendo Switch 2 game, roughly.
It is somewhere, depending on which game and how you buy it, between $60 and $80. $80 is a physical copy of some, but not all, Nintendo titles. Mario Kart World will be $80 when sold separately.
Right.
DK Bonanza is $70
lower,
when sold separately. And there is pretty credible going around that there will be a $10 discount in some, but not all, cases for buying a digital version rather than buying a physical version, which would be interesting because there has been digital physical price parity for a very long time, and breaking that would be a big shakeup, in my opinion. Just doesn't matter by how much. Breaking that parity and acknowledging that it's cheaper for the producer to get a digital game to a consumer, and that therefore that consumer need not pay as much for that game, is a big deal.
No, agreed. It's interesting. Like, we've done a bunch of stuff on game prices on this channel over the course of years, and I think where I stand personally is I would love it. And on the PC side of things, this has already become very normalized. I would love it if game prices were not static. Like, or if we weren't expecting like, oh, it's the $50 game, it's the $60 game, it's the $70 game, it's the $80 game. Like that I think that way sort of leads to a bit of ruin in the current way we engage with purchasing video games. Mm-hmm. It feels like archaic in a way. And sure, Nintendo as a company, this track record of sticking by their guns on what on the value proposition that they believe their games hold.
Yep.
Sometimes I agree with those, and sometimes I do not. But that is what they do. And if we're going to engage with them, in their ecosystem, by this point, we know what type of company we are dealing with, for better or worse. I think there's pro and con to what they're doing. I think one of the bigger cons is less people will play their games. Like, that's just what's going to happen. If you look at the entirety of the current economic status of the world, in that direction, like everything else, please see our fake things you could have bought before for not buying things. That's going to be affected here. Like, that's what's going to happen. And luckily, at the very least, and I'm not saying this is a solution by any means, but like, there are other avenues to get games cheaper than Nintendo. That doesn't mean you need different hardware infrastructure, that sort of thing. Obviously, internet connections, etc. But like, I could not blame a soul for being like, seeing these prices and being like, nah.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. What I do think is hilarious to me is our image for this topic, which is the petulance of gamers.
Sure.
I think so I attempted to, as research for this and for our design club last week, watch the tree houses for the new launch titles, or for the new games that are coming to Switch 2. Metroid 4, DK Bonanza, Mario Kart World were the big ones. And watching them, The chat, completely unusable because chat was spamming drop the price in all caps. That's not how this works, right? So if you believe that you're going to influence Nintendo to drop the price, don't buy the game, but don't, like, I understand people wanting to, like, go in and express their displeasure, but, like, that, it doesn't do anything and is just annoying, right? Like,
well, I think we've also kind of seen online, I won't even call, like, online action, like spamming drop the price in a Nintendo chat is essentially trolling. You can do it and let them know your displeasure or whatever, but, like, it's also not gonna do anything.
correct.
And I think we've seen this. Look, we've seen this since horse armor. People say one thing,
Right.
and then go and en masse do the opposite.
Correct.
And then people at these companies are like, oh, well, there's a vocal group of people that say they absolutely hate this, but profits have never been higher.
Right. Yeah, I would be willing to bet that more than half of the people who were spamming drop the price in chat will be buying Switch 2s at pre-order at whatever price Nintendo sets and buying games to go with it. Right?
Yeah.
That's sort of my That's sort of my take on it. And then so this last thing that we'll get back to is the delay. The console is still expected to release June 9th, June 2nd, early June worldwide.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to put my prediction down now that it won't launch in the US on that day. That's my bet. My bet
Interesting.
is that things will be so volatile and the pricing structure will be so unstable that it will not launch the same day in the US that it launches worldwide. That's my current bet.
I have a theory on that. I think if nothing changes between now and then or whatever, absolutely. But if there's one thing that this administration has proven is this is a loud thing that many people across the board are angry at that has a very simple solution that can make them look like they're winning. They could very easily, because chaos, say the Switch 2, nah, no tariffs on that. Like, that's what we're going to start seeing here, I think, is individual deals on loud things that would look like an economic win in 3 weeks' time, because we have, myself included, the attention span of a goldfish. That looks like a big win for this administration. Like, oh, look, we saved it. You get your video games at a normal price. Look, we saved it. We made it the price again. When, in fact, they caused the problem to then sell you the idea of the solution.
Right.
That's what I think is going to happen. There's already talks of the individual countries coming and, like, trying to work things out through it. There's no way that Japan and Nintendo is not in on that. But Will, I do agree with you that if everything stayed as is, they wouldn't launch it here. And it would be a really sad yet interesting global economic experiment for a large piece of hardware that used to be global to not launch at the same time in the United States.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Also, I wanted to give just a second to this very good comment by that guy Jimmy. I'm going to read it rather than post it because it's a giant comment. I'm trying to be brief, but there's a lot of nuance here, and more so with the tariffs. I think Nintendo gets away with some scummy stuff because they do exclusivity so well, but video games have been around $60 since 2006-ish. It's surprising to me that some people seem unwilling for prices to raise after all this time when you consider inflation and wanting devs to be paid and treated well. However, our wealth inequality problem has only gotten worse and people's disposable income has not grown. Yes, that's a great summation of it, right?
Yeah.
It is a complex, multifaceted problem, right? And I understand people not wanting to pay more because they don't have more money to spend, right? But at the same time, I do think it's really important that we acknowledge that real price of video games has gone down and down and down because of inflation. The problem is not the price of video games. The problem is our lack of disposable income and that wages have not kept pace. Right. There is a
and there's
complex...
also there's also compounded onto that where the money made from video games goes.
Correct. And,
yeah. It does not oftentimes go to the developer unless we're talking about some real indie stuff. Like
Correct. And so the big problem, the really big problem, is that this applies to lots of luxury goods, not just games. Games you're just anchored to because they're an individual physical item, which is disposable in that you purchase many games, right? That has had a very anchored price that many of you have been anchored to since childhood.
I'll even go back to what I was saying before about the anchoring around consoles and having a game that just works outside the box. That is a feeling that is anchored in me because that's how I grew up. Game prices are, and it's funny. You know why I don't? So I think I just put it up there. Someone mentioned the SNES prices. Daft mentioned the SNES game prices. You know why I don't remember those? Is because my parents got me one or two of those. I didn't buy them. But I have the anchored price of $50 to really in my brain of what a video game costs, because that's when I, as a consumer, started engaging in the hobby.
Yeah.
And so there's a real, and it's so complex and honestly an interesting conversation, because you talk about, you know, how much disposable income people have for luxury goods versus how much those goods should cost based on inflation versus where the money that is actually going for to support the people that make those things, then who is actually making them. The dev is making the game, but the publisher's getting it out there, and who's keeping that end of the money, and why aren't devs being taken care of? And there's a lot of like interconnectivity around all of this stuff that is hard to surmise easily and quickly, which makes a solution hard to find.
Yes, this is one of the most complicated topics in the gaming space because of all of the internal to the gaming industry and external to the gaming industry factors that go into this, right? And again, people spamming drop the price isn't going to do it. But I would welcome, we're running a little short on time today. I would welcome...
No, I already pushed my meetings. I can go longer because I knew this would be going.
Right, yeah. I would also welcome well-considered responses in the comments on Blue Sky, right? Please do. And like, I want to sort of, the comments have been really good about this, and I want to sort of put forward this idea. Say more.
Yeah.
I know it's weird in a YouTube space to like have a longer comment. Take your time and say more, because one of the things that we've been fostering here on Twitch is taking the time to say more when it's worth to say more, right? We're a little entish that way. And I think
perhaps the tariffs should not be implemented in the way that they currently are, being that they're
you literally hit the bottom end of the call and dropped out. But I do think that this is a complex, multifaceted issue, right? I'm not happy about them going up, but I also understand that that's an economic inevitability, and the way that people feel about it is going to be different depending on their level of disposable income, their relationship to their disposable income, right? What their priorities are, whether or not they have a family to take care of, how much their job will be impacted by tariffs, right? If you work in the tabletop RPG industry, you're probably not buying a Switch 2. You're probably not buying a Switch 2. You're probably saving all of your money because you have no idea what's going to happen when the bottom drops out from your industry momentarily.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a ton of stuff going on here. And I think that I'm really glad that we're having this bigger, larger conversation. I want to thank Brad and Janet for having more time, for saying more, right? Take time to write the text wall, because it is important that we have the I see so little nuance about this because everyone's limited to 300 characters on Blue Sky, right? Or whatever, right? But, and if you're a member or a patron or a subscriber here on Twitch, drop in the Discord, right? There is a space to have a longer conversation there. I may set up a what should games cost thread in the industry news channel. We can have a bigger conversation there. Because
that would actually be really interesting to have it, because like, again, what we want to foster here is like a space that is comfortable to have complex, difficult conversations in the gaming space, because that doesn't seem like there's a lot of places for that.
Yeah.
Also, I think I found my Ent filter.
Anything worth saying is worth saying slow.
There we go.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else on the Switch 2 that we wanted to tackle?
There's lists of the games that might not work at launch. We have them in the show notes. Check those out if you're going to be affected, if you are still interested after all of this stuff or think you can get your hands on the Switch 2. Let's close out the Switch 2 stuff on what I consider... what do you got?
I'm going to interject this one. This is a big one. For those of you who missed Kirby Air Ride, Songs and I have already agreed that we're going to have a 1v1 Kirby Air Ride city trial, because I swear to God, if the new Kirby Air Ride doesn't include city trial, it's not worth buying.
Let's do this. We just talked a lot of dark stuff, right?
Yeah.
I want to talk about the games that I am legit sort of excited for.
Please.
Obviously the new Mario Kart is right up my alley. I think that this will be a game that I'll be able to play with friends for a very long time. And I think the value prop for that for me is so huge. I love the idea of an open world Mario Kart. I trust Nintendo to make an open world, especially after the last two that they made, that feels both lived in and interesting enough to move around. I think that opens up a lot of interesting sort of like, one of the things that I miss in Mario Kart 8, and that game has so much content, I miss sort of the experimentations and things of the battle modes and whatnot. Like there's some battle modes, there's a lot of them, but it never felt like actually like it nailed something. What an open world Mario Kart at least allows, it seems like, is you can kind of invent your own games with your friends. What I'm hoping, Will, and who knows if this could be pulled off, this is not a feature that is announced, but there's something that is a very little used feature, at least in my friend group, with, I want to say it's in GTA Online, where you can basically, using your waypoint on the map, make an impromptu race. So you set your waypoint wherever you want, and you say, I'm inviting whoever wants to race to do this race. It would be awesome if in that Mario Kart world, you could do things that simply and cool. Like you could do it without a feature, like, oh, we're going to race to the top of the ski slope or whatever, right? But like, it makes it seem like there's a lot of option there. So I'm excited about that. Donkey Kong Bonanza looks like it's the first Donkey Kong game that I've been really excited about in a while, to be perfectly honest. It has a level of chaos and joy to it that I really like, and I like that it feels like there's some new mechanics for Donkey Kong, specifically the earth melding or ripping or throwing or breaking or punching mechanic. And Will, I can't believe we've gone 2 hours and you have not mentioned that Silk Song confirmed.
Yep, Silk Song confirmed for 2025, has 8 seconds of footage. By the way, those are 8 new seconds of footage. I will not bore you with the frame by frame. Suffice it to say, Silk Song. Now, by the way, I won't be playing it on the Switch 2. I'll be playing it on PC.
Sure.
Because achievements, but like, very excited about that. Also, Enter the Gungeon 2. I don't know how much of the charm of the original it's going to maintain in 3D. Spoilers, the original Gungeon was also 3D. It was just billboarded.
And also spoilers, I think Will and I's friendship was formulated around Enter the Gungeon. We were both super deep into that game. It is easily in my top 5 games of all time list. And I think there's a, much like you probably feel this way about Gungeon as well, but maybe my Hollow Knight is Gungeon, if that makes sense. So with a sequel, even if it's exquisite, it's going to be very hard to beat the emotional resonance and importance and just like drive of the first experience. That's just how it goes.
Absolutely.
I don't mind if it's going to be 3D. I couldn't quite tell how the camera was. Like, I want it still to be like that locked, like asymmetric locked kind of thing. Yeah. I do think the maybe pixel art is I don't know. I have no idea. There's some level of like ephemeral joy to the ridiculousness that pixel art brings me that I have yet to see in the style of 3D that seems to be used. I've also seen 8 seconds of it. So like, who knows?
Yeah.
Oh, and the elephant in the room is the Duskbloods trailer.
Yeah, definitely legally for reasons of copyright and deals with Sony, not Bloodborne 2.
Look, no, it's not Bloodborne 2. It absolutely isn't. Are there gothic buildings? Yup. Like, it's also a PvPvE game, which I was very worried about until Miyazaki did an interview recently since the launch. And he's like, hey, look, this is an experiment we wanted to try. I think Vate Vidya does a great sort of breakdown of like why he's psyched and trepidatious about it. But basically, this is the kind of game that FromSoft can only try as a console exclusive that Nintendo is helping to back, or that a game hardware publisher is helping to back. And I like personally that it is not a story focused thing specifically because of that.
Yeah.
Because if it was Bloodborne 2, essentially,
yeah,
with the name serial number filed off, because it's exclusive to Switch 2, it would be like Bloodborne 1 on the PS4. And less people would be able to play it.
Yeah, I agree.
This is an experiment that hopefully goes well. I'm very curious about it as development happens. It feels, Akuma in the chat says, yeah, 2 multiplayer focused FromSoft games lined up is kind of worrying for fans of the original formula, and that's why Miyazaki basically went on and was like, hey, this isn't the studio's direction. This is what we're wanting to try now. We are still very committed to doing story-driven, single-player mainly experiences.
Yep.
Which is a great thing to say. I want FromSoft and other companies that I love, or creators, developers that I love, to be able to experiment and not be lambasted right away for doing that. And you could, without that message from him, very much be like, what the hell? But the fact that he came on is like, these are just fun things we wanted to try. This feels like the right time and space. Yep. Cool. That was enough for me, at least for now. That obviously can change.
Yeah. And my last one, I think, is Metroid Prime 4.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations, Nintendo. You have done something for the first time in the FPS market. You have introduced a console FPS with native mouse support.
Yeah.
I will buy it and play it. I will try it. I'm very interested, right? To be fair, this isn't the first time they've done unique control schemes. Resident Evil 4 on the Wii has manual Wiimote aiming.
Yep.
So they've done unique control schemes for shooters before. I'm very interested to see what this is. I'm also very interested to see what the hand cramp issues are with the using a Joy-Con as a mouse for a prolonged period of time.
Sure.
But we'll see. I'm very excited to check it out.
Yeah, I think the overall, even though many of these things are not on release, they did a really great job of I felt, but before reality smacked me in the face, and this is a good tell, I think, of video game announcements in general. I was over the moon, like with the announcement as a whole. I felt great, and I was excited. I was more excited about this console release than any in previous memory. Yeah. And when you sort of step back from it and look at all of the specifics and all of the myriad of topics that we've talked about for the last hour about these things, yes, that excitement has been chipped away, but there is an ephemeral joy to what Nintendo tends to do that I thought they actually really brought to this. And for a brief, beautiful hour and a half or whatever it was, I was feeling pretty good. Let's end us off with our dessert story.
Yeah. That was the tariffs one that we ended up.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, we talked about it.
All right, so a story from GDC that has come out that I think is probably my favorite GDC story. So Local Thunk went to GDC, and that was cool, and he got to see people playing in the wild. And no one knows what Local Thunk looks like. So he went up and played Balatro at the Balatro booth, and no one knew it was him.
Yeah.
And he was playing really well, and someone went, "Hey, you're really good at this game. How'd you get so good?" And the other very interesting thing is he's finally getting to appreciate the game himself, because he didn't play the game. He was building the game. I think a lot of people assume that developers are always good at their own games. That's not always true.
Right.
In fact, I'm pretty sure the crew at Megacrit isn't nearly as good at Slay the Spire as a lot of the Spire pros are, as an example. And so he got to experience that and got to play through and be recognized as someone who's good at Balatro, not just someone who made Balatro. And I just love this story as like a heartwarming little like look from someone who's managed to maintain anonymity and not let it all go to his head as an auteur in this space, that there are like these cool, fun moments with a game that is better than anyone could have possibly expected it to be and brought more joy at a lower price point and an easier install than any other game of the year. And I just love the cultural phenomena around Balatro, probably more than I love Balatro. And I think that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very fun.
Yeah.
I like that happened. And I like, I don't know. Because of the way that the industry is, you don't get a lot of these devs in these stories and things, and it's nice when they come across. So,
all right, real quick, we did have a couple of comments from the Tubes of You that we wanted to address
from last week's show.
From last week's show, right? And if you're still here after watching, a bit of this week's show, thanks. RMS Gray said, when it came to the virtual game cards, my immediate thought is that it removes one of the major roadblocks to Switch 2 adoption. Now people know for sure that they can bring their virtual library across to the new console, or as much of it as they want to transfer without having to research the question. Yes, we talked about this, and I picked this question in part to throw to last week's Design Club. Jeff and I actually talked about this as a marketing move to announce virtual game cards before the console, because lots of people, when they announce virtual game cards, were like, oh, I don't have a use case for this. Why do I care about this? And they didn't realize that they're about to own two Switch consoles, right? A Switch and a Switch 2, and that will be the use case that applies to them. So I think that
if you don't transfer your entire account to your Switch 2.
Correct. If you still intend to use both or intend to have both in the household, right? Yeah. So I think that's exactly right. And I think that's a very good move on their part.
Yeah. No, agreed. Next one comes from Rogi13. It says that they're excited about virtual game cartridges. My mom and I live in different countries and love to play Just Dance, especially when we're together. And it seems like the video game cartridges will allow us to play games separately without needing two copies of the game. Yeah. I mean, that is essentially what they're trying to do. And it is interesting to think about. I kind of like this. It's interesting to think about once you're on the same like family account or whatever, like, again, back because I'm 1,000 years old, you'd go to someone's house and give them a cartridge to borrow.
Yeah.
Here, even if you live far away, you can just let them borrow your game, and that's pretty neat.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. The last one is aimed directly at you, Matt. It's from AIE Siler, excuse me. Rifts was the first system I underestimated as a DM. I started with TMNT and other strangeness and was not prepared for what Rifts was doing. For those who don't know, Matt has a deep and abiding love of tabletop games. He loves Lancer, he loves D&D, but God, if you start talking about Rifts, Matt will go to a happy place of nostalgia, and then you've lost several hours of Matt trying to pitch you a Rifts campaign.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is the original edition. Would you like the Ultimate Gold edition instead? Listen, again, beautiful, wonderful world. Absolutely terrible system that I cannot get enough of and love and have rewritten a bunch of different times. Thank you for that, Cycler. I too was not prepared for what Rifts was doing, and literally, it's funny. I don't actively have a Rifts campaign going. My last one was, I think, 4 years ago. I have all of the world books, like, because the expansions for Rifts came in world books. So you had Rifts Africa, Rifts South America, Rifts this, and they broke off eventually. But like, so you basically, because it takes place on Earth, you have all the different locations as your expansion books. And I still have them on my shelf because I just like looking at the spines. That's
fair. All right.
And more. If you are interested in Rifts, look it up. There's some bad. It's a lot of good. The system again is broken. But the world is very interesting, and it's one of the few versions of like throw everything and the kitchen sink into your RPG that has actually worked with me on a narrative conceit basis. It's great. Anyway, yeah.
Friends, thank you so much for joining us today. If you have thoughts, comments, concerns, responses, please take time to say more in the comments below.
Or message us on Blue Sky, if that is the case, especially for folks watching on Nebula. Thank you for doing that, by the way.
You can hit us up.
Seriously, and let us know what you are liking about the show, what you'd like to see more of. Constructive criticism is always welcome. I know that's a daring thing to say on the internet, but if there's stuff you wish we'd cover more of, or you think perhaps our pre-shows are too I don't know, let us know, and we always love hearing from y'all and seeing what you like and how we can make this little breakfast adventure a little bit better.
Yep. I think then all that remains to us for today is for Matt to do the same sign off we always do, as sort of a community, recentering exercise as we say goodbye today.
That's right. I think, and we do it the same every time to ensure that we can all come together as one breakfast family, whether you're a Brad, Janet, or Rocky. And so I think I'd like you all to join me in the following very somber and I guess ritualistic, I might even say, thing that we do every time. So hold on just 1 second, if I could just. And also with you.
It's a good one. I like it. I like it. Yeah, I know we ran long, friends. That was a topic that demanded running long. Like, we could have cut some of the pre-stories, but God, if that main story wasn't going to hit like a freight train loaded with hammers, if we didn't do lead up to it, like, no, we have to do that thing. So, Matt's got meetings to get to. We're going to say goodbye to Janet here. Janet, thank you so much for joining us, YouTube.
Thank you.
We will be back on Thursday on YouTube. Jeff and I are doing a design club on the Unity store, and why a dev might use it. We're going to talk about that because there's a bunch of conversation about the difference between asset flips and using a store and what that's all about. And Jeff wants to go deep diving in the Unity store, so we're going to do that on Thursday.
Cool.
So please join us for that then. Everybody say bye, Janet.